The air in Valletta shimmered with late summer heat as Dr. Elena Mirov stepped off the ferry, her backpack heavy with notebooks and half-broken field gear. She wasn't here as a tourist. Her destination was the Maltese Hypogeum, an underground temple that had haunted her dreams for months. The guide who met her at the entrance looked more like a soldier than a host. Uniformed, alert, and watchful. No cameras. No recordings. He said sharply, waving the small group forward. What you see here, you keep here. The descent was like entering another world. The Hypogeum smelled of limestone and something older, something dry and ancient, like bones turned to dust. The light was dim, carefully regulated. As she stepped into main chamber, Elena's eyes widened. The walls were painted in faint spirals of red ochre. The guide was talking about funerary practices, but Elena wasn't listening. She heard something else. A sound. Low, pulsing. 111 hertz. She pressed her hand against the cool stone. The vibration seemed to travel up her arm, settling in her skull like a whisper. The others walked ahead, but Elena lingered, drawn to a small niche. Her hand brushed across the stone, and a shiver ran through her spine. For a moment, she saw a figure, a woman lying on her side, corpulent, serene, her terracotta body breathing. The sleeping lady. And then the whisper came. Velisovka. The word echoed in her skull until the guide called her sharply, breaking the trance. That night, she woke in her hotel drenched in sweat. She scribbled the word into her journal. Velisovka. It was not Maltese. It was Russian. #, Chapter 2, The Labyrinth of Velisovka. 2 weeks later, Elena was trudging across the wind-swept plains of southwest Russia. The small village of Velisovka was unremarkable at first sight, a cluster of wooden houses, golden fields, and the distant hum of tractors. But beneath the earth lay something far older. Professor Valery Baryutski, a gaunt man with deep-set eyes, met her with a firm handshake. "You followed the voice, didn't you?" he said without preamble. Elena froze. "How?" "I've heard it too. Down there," he said, pointing toward a mound on the horizon. The excavation site was abandoned, tools rusting where students had once dug. They descended into narrow tunnels cut into clay. The deeper they went, the tighter the air became, and the fainter the outside world felt. The labyrinth twisted unnaturally, its passages forcing them to crawl on hands and knees. At the center was a chamber shaped like a yurt, its ceiling rounded, the floor scattered with fragments of amphorae and horse skulls. "This was a place of sacrifice," Baryutsky murmured. "Horses, sheep, maybe people. An initiation site." Elena touched the wall. The vibration was there again. The same 111 hertz hum she had felt in Malta. Her flashlight flickered. In that brief darkness, she thought she saw shadows moving to the passages, small figures darting just out of sight. "Locals speak of sorcerers," Baryutsky said quietly, as if reading her mind. "Tiny people in the labyrinth. But I believe the stories were planted to keep us away from the truth." "What truth?" Elena asked. "That these labyrinths were connected. Malta, Velisovka, others. A network of places where the earth itself resonates." The hum deepened. A pressure built in her skull and in her mind as she saw water, dark, endless, pressing in from all sides. When she blinked, she was back in the clay chamber. But she knew where she had to go next. "Canada," she whispered. Lake McDonald. #, Chapter 3. Stones beneath the lake. The submersible creaked as it sank into the still waters of Lake McDonald. Elena sat beside Captain Harris, who piloted the small craft with the casual calm of a man used to deep silence. "Down here?" Harris asked skeptically. "Tourists say it's just rocks." Elena said nothing, eyes locked on the sonar. A shape was emerging, a massive slab balanced with unnatural precision. The lights of the sub cut through the murk. There was a stone structure, almost like a dolmen, its top slab balanced on smaller stones like deliberate pillars. Her breath caught. The design was unmistakable. She had seen the same spirals in Malta, the same alignments in Velisovka. She leaned closer, flashlight tracing the grooves in the stone. They weren't random scratches. They were symbols. Spiral concentric circles. A map. The hum returned, vibrating the hull of the sub. Harris frowned, tapping his instruments. "You hearing that?" Thought it was engine noise, but... The lights flickered. Elena pressed her hands to the glass. In that moment, she saw the stones align with the sunset above, like a calendar marking solstices. The hum surged, almost deafening now. Her vision blurred. For a heartbeat, she wasn't in the sub anymore. She was standing in the shallow waters of an ancient river, thousands of years ago, watching people in animal skins place the stones by hand. "Elena!" Harris shook her. The light stabilized, the vision gone. But she knew the truth. This wasn't a random structure. It was another node, and it pointed to the final destination. Penteli, Greece, ***. The Penteli Cave loomed like a scar in the pine-covered mountains north of Athens. Local legends called it cursed. Soldiers had once sealed it with barbed wire, concrete bunkers, and armed guards. Now it stood abandoned, though the villagers still whispered about lights in the sky and voices in the dark. Elena slipped inside at dusk, her flashlight barely cutting through the gloom. The tunnel stretched endlessly, leading to vast chambers with ceilings lost in shadow. Strange carvings covered the walls, goat spirals, and figures dancing in twisted lines. Her footsteps echoed. Then the hum began, stronger than ever before. At the end of the long tunnel, she found it, a massive triangular stone aperture, like a doorway cut into the earth. The walls shimmered faintly as if wet, though her hands came away dry. The hum became deafening. She fumbled in her pack, pulling out the artifact she had carried. A shard of ochre-painted stone from Malta, a fragment of clay from Velisovka, a pebble from Lake McDonald. She placed them into the grooves around the portal. The spirals on the walls flared red, glowing like fire. The ground shook. For a moment she saw shadows forming, not human, not animal. Figures with elongated heads, their eyes burning with pale light. They flickered in and out, caught between worlds. "Elena!" A voice whispered from everywhere and nowhere. "Enter." The portal shimmered, pulling her forward. She stepped through. Instantly, the world shifted. She was standing in a vast chamber that was all places at once. Maltese Hypogeum, Velisovka's Labyrinth, Canada's Stone Cairn, and Penteli's Cave overlapping, merging. Spirals pulsed on every wall, alive with light. The hum vibrated through her bones, filling her mind. Images flooded in, ancient builders striking stones to create resonance, rituals under torchlight, voices chanting in harmony. The labyrinths had never been tombs. They were machines of consciousness, amplifying human thought, opening gateways. She saw generations of people passing through, shamans, priests, nomads, each leaving fragments of knowledge at the nodes. A global network that stretched across millennia. And then she saw time itself collapse. She looked down at her hands and saw they were not her own. She was someone else, a priestess in Malta, painting spirals on stone. She was a nomad in Velisovka, crawling through the labyrinth on initiation night. She was a hunter in Canada, aligning the stones with the solstice sun. She was a mason in Greece, chiseling the portal. They were all her. The hum rose to a crescendo. Light engulfed her. When she opened her eyes, she was standing outside the cave. The bunkers were gone. The wire was gone. The forest was young, untouched. She turned to look at the mountain. Smoke curled in the distance. People were gathering in animal skins, carrying torches. Her watch blinked. The digital numbers were gone. Instead, scratched letters read,